Alrighty, guys, it is us here. Your favorite,
The most hated men on YouTube.
yeah, favorite. What was I thinking? The most hated men on YouTube, Blam Death Cakes. We are here because we've been sentenced to 400 years of hard labor talking about comic book movies. And guess what? There's the biggest comic book movie news of all, perhaps. The possibility that Disney may be, what?
It's probably the best, yeah.
That's the biggest.
Or the biggest, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty big. The possibility that Disney may be buying Fox. Yeah, that's right. So that would give Marvel the X-Men characters back. Full stop. They're not having to make some weird deal with Sony where Sony can turn around and be like, well, now Venom's in your universe, ha ha ha, or anything like that. They own it full stop.
Well, that's not what's happening, but continue.
That's kind of what's happening. Anyways, we are going to talk about it with our top 100 things about the X-Men joining the Marvel Universe. Number 100, Holden.
Oh, okay. Hey, they can use mutants now.
Yeah.
So just like how in, for example, Age of Ultron, they introduced two characters, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Now, traditionally they are mutants. You know, they're the offspring of Magneto. So, of course, they're mutants. But in the movie, they didn't have the right to say mutants.
Yeah,
so
they were miracles.
So they were like special people, miracles, It's like when you have your kid that's a little slow and you're like, you're special, Except Quicksilver was fast. He didn't see that coming, did he?
He was, yeah, but he got killed just as easily.
But yeah, that will help expand like their universe of just saying that, like, hey, we're mutants, and that's another deviation of how you get your superpowers.
What do you reckon they'll do with them? I mean, because, I think that, if the X-Men come in there, if I were them, I'd just be like, oh, yeah, Scarlet Witch is a mutant.
I mean, I think you could do that where you just say, oh, yeah, she's always known she was a mutant, or you can just say mutant now, so, like, she's like, I'm a mutant.
I think they were vague enough with what happened with her.
That they could still say
that
mutant.
They could just say, like...
I think what would be interesting, too, is if they do an X-Men movie, and they cross her over, and Magneto shows up and is like, "I'm your father," and she's like, "What?"
Yeah, but my father died because Tony Stark killed him.
And he was like, "Oh,
whatever."
Do you even remember what happened? I didn't even remember what happened.
But anyways, without further ado, this is what I think needs to happen. I think.
Oh, was I supposed to say what needs to happen?
I mean, it's just
okay,
we're just talking about it.
We're just talking, man. We're just talking. Not saying that I'm going to slide you over $100 million. I'm saying we're talking.
It's different styles. My style is to be like
forceful. I'm telling you what you need to do.
I'm telling you what
hey,
need to
you
do.
know what you could do.
Because I am the president of Hollywood, and I'm like, okay. Now some people are like, oh, but I don't want them to reboot. The Fox X-Men universe has needed to reboot for at least 20 years.
And they've only
been around for
17, 18?
But they've needed to reboot for 20 years now. And you know what? Sure, maybe they've had a little bit of success with Deadpool, which, is outside of its universe anyways. I would put that aside. But, the X-Men universe, even no matter how well Dark Phoenix does, I think that they need to take this opportunity to reboot it. I'm not going to worry about losing Jennifer Lawrence or Michael Fassbender or whatever. It's just reboot it. Marvel's proved that they can make, a hit movie and turn like Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec and Batista into household names and stars. So it's like they don't need Jennifer Lawrence, just cast Batista or whatever. It's a mistake.
Yeah, he's already covered in makeup anyways.
Yeah, he's down for it.
Well, and also you look at the way they handled Spider-Man. I mean, I know that's not technically a Marvel movie, but the way that they were able to reboot Spider-Man and then give you something completely new and fresh.
Yeah.
And even with I don't think there was a lot in that universe, the Amazing Spider-Man universe, that was like having to cut ties with. I mean, for one, they had just killed Emma Stone, which was probably their only golden egg in that universe. But, it's like they were already dying. This one at least has Jennifer Lawrence, who's a big star. But at the same time, if you cut her out, you can just put her in some other movie.
Exactly. And so what I would do narratively is, once they have it, once they feel like they're ready to go, you just say, because I think some people are going to be like, well, what do you explain, like, if there's mutants in this world, why has nobody said anything? I would just say that,
They just never brought it up.
no one's ever brought it up. No, I mean, I would just say that, the amount of mutants that there were in this world were such a small number that they could have been hidden. But now.
And you could also, oh, go ahead.
But now, in this sort of event, that there's sort of an explosion where of like every kid that's hitting, puberty right now at 13 is getting these weird mutant powers and it's becoming an epidemic. It can't be hidden anymore. Professor X and Magneto come out of the shadows and they're like, we're going to take, these kids or whatever, and
we're going to take these kids.
Yeah, we're going to take these kids and we're going to deal with them,
We're going to deal with them.
Are we?
Are we?
By having them fight.
Having them fight each other. Magneto's going to take some kids and be like, I believe in these ideas. And Professor X is like, I believe in... They're using them to fight.
It's going to be like Pokemon. But yeah, that's what X-Men is, and that's what it should be, and that would be an interesting way to bring it in.
Another interesting way you could do is just have Professor X just kind of
wiped everybody's mind.
Not just kind of has kept the clout over everybody in the sense of he's protected these, like you said, small group of people. But the movie could even be that it's like Professor X has been kind of like Pawkins. Not that bad, but he's kind of he sends X-Men out on missions and stuff like that. But for the most part, they're kind of secretive. But now that there's this big explosion of mutants, it's like, well, the world's got to know about us now. So he then takes that upon himself to expand his, kind of ability to reach out and get people to kind of come in and accept mutants and stuff like that. I mean, that'd be an arc for him. Exactly. I just gave you an arc, Marvel. I just gave you an easy arc.
Yep. Now, one thing that I also would be worried about is Fox does what, sometimes between 0 and 3 movies a year. 3 X-Men movies a year.
Well, they've not even done it yet, so
yeah.
Technically it's just 0 and 2.
So it's I don't want Marvel to be overextending and making.
And even
X-Men
the ones
movies.
that they do, last year when they had Apocalypse and Deadpool, it was they kind of were we got X-Men Apocalypse coming out and Deadpool.
Yeah.
But then Deadpool was the big hit, and X-Men Apocalypse was yeah.
So what I would do is I would just handle it, just like they usually do, and they're just we're making an X-Men movie, and this X-Men movie is going to be one movie, just like with Spider-Man, and, if it's good, we'll do another one, and, if people want to see more, then we will open up that world. And the same with the Fantastic Four, of we're introducing Fantastic Four and X-Men as, just one of all of the franchises, because that's my main worry is I think Marvel does so well with taking the obscure heroes that would have never gotten a chance if they had all their characters from the start. And I don't want to see them, go away from that. So I would like them to build slowly with the X-Men and not just be all right, so now we got X-Men, X-Force, Deadpool, and, Wolverine spin-off movie all this year, whatever. I just want to see them do an X-Men movie, build slowly out from that.
Now, a complaint about that would be, but wouldn't you want to see, not necessarily all these movies, but I think one of the negatives against kind of doing a quote-unquote origin story kind of thing where it's it's small and then it's massive, mainly just to appeal to the overall continuity of the universe. But a complaint of that would be, well, there's so many characters in the X-Men universe that it would kind of suck to kind of have to be well, this is kind of the beginnings of them, and characters I don't know, Psylocke or whatever is in that movie. I don't know, but it's like I said, that it's kind of more building up of it. Now, I do think that it would be better because you would still have a small influx of characters. Yeah. That it's you would still have Wolverine out there. You'd have they were talking about doing a whatchamacallit movie. You could still, even if if he wants to be a part of it still, you could do that multiple man movie and he's just off somewhere else being multiple.
And
man.
you know what? Also, the thing is that Fox has already given us 2 versions of every character. And they've all been bad. So, it's
Deadpool.
Yeah. Well, they've given us 2 versions of Deadpool, and one of them was bad, and the other one was good. But, 2 bad Psylocks, 2 bad Emma Frosts, 2 bad everything.
Too bad Emma Frost, too bad Psylocke.
So, yeah, I mean, you've given us 2 of everything. It's you know what? I'd be okay with, not seeing Psylocke if it means we're just concentrated on making a really great X-Men
No, yeah, and
movie.
I just bring up Psylocke as an example.
Yeah, I mean Psylocke or anybody, you know, even
Like I said, the
my
multiple man
favorite
movie.
superhero was like X-Man or whatever, you know. In lieu of seeing an X-Man movie, which if Fox still had it, probably eventually they would get to. They'd have two versions of X-Man.
Well, I was just saying, like, I mean, they'll never do X-Men because they got to do like a weird world or like an apocalypse or whatever.
I'm sure at some point they'd.
But the idea would be, like I said, like stuff like Deadpool and Cable and stuff like that. I mean, I think, like I said, that stuff could easily be folded in, depending on what they do in Deadpool 2. That it's like, we'll just say, like, that this is in the Marvel universe or the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
I mean, because it doesn't. It's like the X-Men. He knows about the X-Men, but it doesn't seem like everybody knows about the X-Men. Like Ajax wasn't really talking about like I'm the X-Men.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So you could kind of say that it's more contained to like a smaller area.
Yeah.
And then like you could even have Deadpool just say like something where he's like, "That's convenient, isn't it?"
Yeah. And I mean, and also I think the big elephant in the room is like what to do with Deadpool. And I think that Marvel, I mean, if they've bought Fox, they've got a lot of rated R properties. Obviously, Disney has bought Fox so that they can use, some of these things that are more adult oriented. I don't think that they are going to make a PG-13 version of Alien or whatever.
Well, they already did.
Well, yeah, maybe they would.
Well, they made Alien vs. Predator.
Yeah, but it's still not like Disney-fied. They're not going to make an alien with songs or whatever. So,
Hello, my lady.
I think we've seen that. Marvel's they've done this in the past where they've taken one of their properties like Big Hero 6 and they let the Disney Animation Studio turn it into a Disney animated movie, which is. I guess some people would disagree, but that is very different than what Marvel does. So I don't think that they'd have any problem of being like, you know what? Deadpool can be in its own universe in Fox if people still want to see Deadpool movies after Deadpool 2. It can be in its own universe with Fox and it's its own thing, kind of like Big Hero 6 was. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to really affect the X-Men and the X-Men doesn't have to affect it.
No. But at the same time, I think you could still have it in the Marvel universe. I know, like you said, it is kind of tricky, but I think especially just seeing that first one is kind of like, well, Deadpool just kind of mentions the X-Men briefly and they know of him, but it doesn't really seem like everybody is like all like, oh, everybody knows the X-Men, It's not like everybody was clapping. But Deadpool didn't even save the day or nothing like that. It wasn't like he like saved a bunch of bus full of kids or nothing.
Nah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, he just was like, look at my balls.
Yeah, he's like, look at my ball.
But yeah, I mean, I obviously I'm pro X-Men.
Pro all the road.
I would love to see them do to the X-Men and not talked about as much the Fantastic Four what they did with Spider-Man, which was make a really good Spider-Man movie that was true to the character and brought back the roots and everything like that, which I think X-Men and Fantastic Four need because they've never had it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, tell us in the comments what you think. Do you think that Disney should buy Fox, or do you think that like Comcast should buy Fox or whatever? I don't know. Have a discussion about corporations.
No, that sucks.
Have a good one, guys.
Blam!
Death cakes.